Welcome to the future. You're listening to the Consensus Network. Consensus Network. Consensus Network. With Buck Joffrey.
Welcome, everybody. This is Buck Joffrey with the Consensus Network show. And we are just trucking along in the world of blockchain right now. Not a lot of big price action, but there is a fair amount going on. So we're going to continue our series of discussions on interesting projects. Of course, these do not fit in the Bitcoin maximalist box, so to speak, but you make a decision for yourself when you hear for these projects, whether they're worth looking at or not. Certainly, the ones we're talking about and the people we're interviewing for these projects are ones that I think are I won't say that you should invest in them. They're just things that I think are interesting. I may or may not have investments in any one of these particular projects, but they are worth talking about for sure. And if you want to get involved in something like this, you should do your own diligence. But in terms of today's show, it's an interesting concept, this idea of crowd intelligence. So in 1906, there was this statistician named Francis Galton who had observed that at a competition at a county fair where there was 800 people entered to guess what the weight of an ox was, what he realized was that the average guess was 1,197 pounds, whereas the actual weight of the ox was 1,198 pounds, literally 1 pound off from the ox when you averaged the 800 people who were in the audience who were guessing. How many of those people do you think were right on? Maybe one or two, who knows? But the point is that is the idea of crowd intelligence. Another classic demonstration of group intelligence is the jelly beans in jar experiment, which you may have seen in the past, which invariably the group's estimate is superior to the vast majority of individual guesses. When a finance professor, Jack Trainer, ran this experiment in his class with a jar that held 850 beans, the group estimate was 871, and only one of 56 people in the class made a better guess than that one individual guess. And again, so that is the concept behind collective or group intelligence. Now, of course, this doesn't always work for things, particularly when people have knowledge of one another's guesses, and that could account for what happens, for example, in the case of bubbles. You hear everybody else talking about things going up, well, you just assume things are going to go up. So in certain situations, maybe it's not as valuable, but it certainly is a useful tool, and there's an entire science behind it. Now, the advantage we have these days is that you can combine crowd intelligence with other kinds of intelligence that involve very powerful computers and algorithms. And this is, of course, called artificial intelligence. And this is a project that describes exactly what Cindicator is doing. It's Cindicator with a C. Cindicator, it's like indicator with a C. Anyway, the idea is I think pretty ingenious. I think there's a lot of applications. There's actually a few different projects that are using crowd intelligence, but nothing that I am aware of that is using crowd and artificial intelligence. And therefore, that's one of the reasons why I think Cindicator is an interesting project. And when we come back, you're going to hear all about it with one of the primary executive team members of Cindicator itself. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today, my guest on Consensus Network is Nodari Kolmahidze. Nodari is the Chief Investment Officer of Cindicator. He was previously a trader and asset manager who successfully shorted the Russian market right before the Crimean crisis in 2014, and then again in the U.S. stock markets before August of 2015 and January 2016 when we had the sell-offs then. Nodari, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks, Buck, for having me.
So,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so it sounds like you yourself have been predicting markets for some time. What have you been using for these indicators? Have you been using standard technical type trading techniques, or are you using something where you used something else before?
Yeah, I would say that how to predict events is my passion. So I've been comparing probabilities of events to happen, real probabilities, like in my mind, with the probabilities that market showed us. So pretty much, for as an example, for Brexit trade, we said a day before the voting, we had a pound on a pretty much early high price of pound, which means that the market is completely underestimate the probability of Brexit event, because it means that the market is pricing this event as a no, we will not exit the European Union. But in the fact, this probability, it was at least not zero. It was, I don't know, I was expecting it quite higher. Let's say if we are expecting it at 20%, so there is a room for making a trade based on this. And pretty much this is the technique I've been using for most of events, that we are able to know that this event will happen.
Got it. So then comes Cindicator. So how did you enter the blockchain space yourself? How did you find the idea of, okay, well, we can do something here in the blockchain space that ultimately becomes Cindicator? Did it all start with Bitcoin?
Yeah, I have experience since the very beginning of 2012 when I first heard about Bitcoin. But then I won't say it was like serious passion or something like this. In 2012, in 2016, I've joined Cindicator, and we started building our product around fiat market. In 1 year after that, we have seen the huge growth of crypto and crypto-related products, and we had some thoughts about moving our focus to crypto market, and we did this. And pretty much in 2017, we had a token sale, and after that, we became a tokenized fintech company. And we are developing hybrid intelligence.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that, because that's one of the things that presumably makes Cindicator a little bit different. Describe what you mean by hybrid intelligence.
Yeah, so pretty much it's a symbiosis of humans and machines in our application. So pretty much we have a platform, like mobile application, web application, where we have more than 120,000 highly motivated analysts all around the globe. They are answering our questions regarding cryptocurrencies prices, regarding cryptocurrencies market. Pretty much they are trying to submit their forecasts, their analysis, etc., etc. We are collecting this data. We have more than 1 million data points, 1 million forecasts per month. So this is a huge amount of data. We are collecting it, and we have a set of machine learning models that are using this raw data to build quite accurate indicators based on this data. So pretty much hybrid intelligence is like the symbiosis of humans' minds, collective intelligence, and artificial intelligence.
Can you explain, and I know there's a lot of evidence before this, but it'd be nice for people to hear that, when people first hear the idea of crowd intelligence, they may not be all that impressed. I mean, why would we care? How accurate could they be? Why would we care what people think on a whim? I mean, but the statistics are pretty significant just for crowd knowledge and crowd predictions. Can you talk a little bit about that first?
Yeah. So the statistics talks for themselves, I guess. So we have stable accuracy, like an average accuracy about 60%, or like if we're talking about the whole set of questions. And for some questions, or for some assets or for some types of questions, we have even higher accuracy. So yes, we have. First of all, we have like independent. Each user is an independent user and decentralized from all other forecasters. So he or she he's probably good at forecasting, let's say Apple stock or let's say Bitcoin or something like this. Mm-hmm. And we have this data. We have the history of his analysis for math, and we can see what are the types of questions he or she is answering good, or what is the assets that is good to predict for these forecasters. So pretty much after having this history, we are able to use like a set of different models to like collect all the data into one quite accurate indicator. We sometimes have so-called super losers, forecasters who are quite stable in giving bad predictions, bad forecasts. But right. This is useful as well because we can reverse it.
Right. And that's where the artificial intelligence comes in, right? That's where you're looking at, okay, well, first of all, how often are these people right? Are they right in a particular asset class or type of prediction? Or are they always wrong about something? And then the algorithm, the artificial intelligence part of this, starts to try to take that data and manipulate it for a more accurate answer.
Yeah.
Talk about the platform itself. I mean, why even use a blockchain to do this? What's the value in using a blockchain?
Yeah, that's a great question. There is a few reasons behind this. So pretty much we are building the whole ecosystem around our application. Blockchain is helping us to do this. So we have analysts, as already said, and we have clients, so traders who are using like indicators that are based on this analyst forecasts into their like I don't know, daily routine, or probably into analysis of the market or something like this. So we have traders and we have analysts. We have a token, Cindy token, which is used between them to make this relationship more probably motivated for some people, something like this. So right now we have three main participants in this ecosystem. Is a group of analysts, this Cindicator itself, and traders clients who are using these indicators for their analysis. And pretty much we are using token to manage all these relationships. In future, we are planning to add more more parties, for example, data scientists who will be able to receive raw data from analysts and then build like machine learning models on top of it, and then sell it to clients as well. And also we have so-called holding model, which is, I guess, impossible without cryptocurrencies. So pretty much a client of Cindicator is able to get the access to our products by just holding tokens. There is no need to spend it. So a client can buy like a given amount of tokens and just hold it. And while he's holding it, he's receiving the access to our products, like club card or something like this.
Yeah. So just for clarity, and I've held Cindicator, so I know you have different. If you own a certain amount of the more Cindicator tokens you own and you stake, the higher level of information you get. And so, for example, if you own, I think, if you own 700,000 Cindicator tokens, then you get a certain type of level of information. If you own 200,000, you get a slightly less information. And that in and of itself creates, because there's a finite number of Cindicator tokens, right? They don't go on forever.
Yeah.
How many tokens are there?
We have 2 billion of tokens in total. We will have
2 billion?
2 billion.
So the idea is that as this information becomes more valuable, the tokens become more valuable. That's part of the model in terms of at least the economics of why you might consider participating, right?
Yeah. And also quickly, there is another reason for having blockchain and cryptocurrencies in our ecosystem. Pretty much in our application, everyone from analysts who have successful forecast last month, they're receiving their financial rewards on a monthly basis. So we have more than 100,000 people from 100 countries. And can you imagine how to send, let's say, 10,000 transactions using banks, each month?
Yeah, right.
It's just insane. So, yeah.
So you're talking about the people who are answering questions, right? I mean, so you have this crowd, and part of the value, again, is if you want to earn cryptocurrency, you can just participate in these basically these surveys, right, where you just have surveys, and then if you, based on how often you're right, you get some sort of reward. And the reward comes in the form of Ethereum.
No, in form of Cindicator.
Okay, got it. It was Cindicator. For some reason, I thought it was Ethereum. Was it Ethereum before?
It was, yes, before.
Okay, got it.
We had 7 months ago or something like this.
Got it.
Yeah.
So that's the additional value, and of course, trying to work with banks on that would be just a nightmare, of course. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about performance. You were early on, and I was admittedly I was following the project relatively early, particularly when my friend Tika Tawari was talking about it, and was really and he still is very bullish on the project. But the numbers initially were quite good, and you were predicting things like the likelihood of an ICO significantly increasing, or the value of a particular token or cryptocurrency going up, and you were doing non-cryptocurrency predictions as well. I mean, in the oil markets, even elections, things like that. But what tell me what's gone on in terms over the last, you've had some time now, over the last year. Have you seen your accuracy go up? And if you can give me some statistics on that?
Yeah. So pretty much talking about the last year, we had a crypto meltdown. So we
Right.
had, yes, and our accuracy has dropped as well. We had like a drawdown, but for a few months. But after that, we after the trend was changed from like bullish to bearish, we had a drawdown. But after that, our analysts, humans and models, they were like adjusted and adapted to the new market conditions, and the accuracy started to like recovering. And pretty much we have right now, like over the last quarters, we have quite stable uh, mm, growth of accuracy, and which is good in my opinion. Also, in this case, time is our friend. So the more data we have, the better like indicators we will have. So the more analysts we are attracting, the more questions they are answering, the better the final indicator will be. So
The
yeah.
crypto meltdown was not something that was necessarily predicted by the model.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, meaning it was not predicted.
Like I would say that some models were like were aware
Yeah,
of that change will be changed, but uh, overall we haven't been really prepared to this.
yeah.
But I would say that there is like some kind of events that are just hard or pretty much impossible to predict.
Yeah, it's interesting because I look at some of the, some of the technical traders out there. Some of the more well-known people in this space, on at least in Bitcoin, that have been on the show, like like Tone Vays or
Yeah.
these guys. They were really convinced, and they'd been talking about it for some time. And I wonder, and it was based completely on technical aspects, right? Completely on technical things. And of course, they still think that they still believe that Bitcoin still has not reached capitulation. Generally speaking, right now, in terms of what your models are predicting, do you have a sense of, obviously, which if we've hit the bottom, are you starting to look at those kinds of numbers?
Yeah. So first of all, my colleagues, the meltdown itself wasn't really unpredictable because we had a really exponential growth. So we could expect a higher probability of that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies at least there will be a correction. And and speaking like about current situation, uh, we can see that the mood of like sentiment of uh, analysts and traders is reversing, and we can see that there is like some small hopes of like future market recovering.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
It's not a
seems.
public prediction, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So Cindicator is overall thinking that there's a bullish sentiments in the market right now.
Uh, I see that.
I'm putting
Yeah,
you on the spot here, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Obviously, these guys like Tyler Jenks and Tone Vays, who I've been following as well, still think that we're going to be below 2,000 on Bitcoin before we see a rebound. But who knows, right? It's hard to say. But part of your learning model is to take sentiment and try to interpret sentiment, whether it should be believed or not. And that's hopefully the idea would be that the next time there is a reversal in bull or in a bull market to a bear market, that you can identify the things that go into that and hopefully predict that. Another question I have for you. So obviously, there's actually a number of these kinds of projects out there doing predictive models. I mean, the best one, the best known one, or one of the early ones, of course, is Augur, and then now, in terms of data statistics, there's something called Endor Protocol. I'm sure you're familiar with these. How do you think Cindicator is different or maybe better than some of these other ones that are out there?
Yeah. So pretty much most of similar projects are using crowdsourced predictions, and they are most of them are predictive markets. So you are able to trade events. So pretty much you are able to buy or sell a share, which represents a probability of an event to happen. And if you're right, you will obviously get a reward. And if you're wrong, you will lose your trade amount. The thing is, in Cindicator, there is no financial losses for our analysts. They are able to send their analysis to make forecasts, and just to receive a financial reward without risking anything from their pocket, something like this. Also, I would say, in my personal opinion, that we have better user experience. For using some of prediction markets, decentralized prediction markets, we need to download a blockchain, sync it every day, and this is not quite user friendly, I guess, for most of people. Also, I would say that we have a very strong, motivated community around our application. For them, using our application is not just it's more than just receive financial reward, and more than just gambling or trying to predict something. We have a very strong educational effect for them. And we see that our forecasters are for years with us. We know this from history. Some of our early forecasters are still with us, and they're switched from analyzing fiat markets to focusing on crypto markets. I think this is great. And overall, I would say that, as a result, we have more users, we have more analysts, and pretty much we can just compare it, I guess, for most of our competitors of similar products, similar projects. We have less than 1,000 people are using it on a daily basis.
Yeah,
and we have significantly more amount of people. And also, just to quickly note, the thing is, we are collecting collective intelligence and artificial intelligence. And some of the projects you are mentioning, they are using only, let's say, crowd intelligence, and some are using only artificial intelligence. And we are building hybrid intelligence, so we are collecting both types of intelligence, and we can eradicate disadvantages of both of them, and get the good parts of both of.
Yeah. So in other words, most of the other ones, they're using crowd data, but they're not necessarily using the computer aspect. They're not using the artificial intelligence to integrate it.
Yeah, some of them, yes, are using something just crowd intelligence or just artificial intelligence.
We were talking a little bit about the meltdown, and what happened there obviously affect a lot of projects, particularly those that were holding their treasury, their own money in in cryptocurrency rather than in fiat. How well is Cindicator capitalized right now? Obviously, that's a problem that a number of projects are now facing, is that they raised a lot of money in Ethereum. Ethereum goes down by 90%, and now they don't have enough money to develop their projects. So what's the situation with Cindicator on that end?
Yeah, great question. So we have a stable financial situation. We had hedged our positions back then after our packing sale, and we had some rebalances as well during this period. I personally think that we are above 90% of all crypto companies in terms of funds left compared to the amount of received funds. And also, you've seen a lot of companies that had cost cutting, like staff reduction, something like this. We don't have it. Our company right now, we have more than 75 employees, and we are just evolving.
Right. Where do you see this project headed? I know, Tika sees it as something that somewhere along the line, you'll have hedge funds and that sort of thing trying to effectively buy, stakes in this because there's a finite amount of it, and the data and tokens, the finite amount of tokens, and so only a certain number of people are going to be able to get so much information. Is that kind of what you're looking for? What's the real vision of the future for where this project is headed?
Yeah. So as I already said, we have 75 employees right now. We have quite a big and diverse team. Right now, we are a global company. We have our development team based in Russia and other countries. Our senior managers and the marketing team is spread around the globe, like in New York, Seoul, and other cities and countries. They are spreading the word about Cindicator. And also we have trading team located in different countries as well, in different time zones. So in our white paper for this year, we have kind of final goal. This is a developing of a technological infrastructure for hedge funds, which is including a trading platform, indicators, and other features. Pretty much we have it almost 3D, I would say. We have built our proprietary trading platform, which we are using for backtesting strategies and for executing them. And we have quite big trading team and algo trading team, team of quants, and we are testing our own indicators in a real world. So we are trading them. We are building different strategies based on our indicators, based on them like as just a single indicator or just like a supplementary tool, additional tool, something like this. And I would say that we have quite promising results. I think you will hear about it later, but like right now we have. I'm optimistic about this. So yeah. I think like a huge part of our future will be based on these experiments.
Yeah. Have you been getting a lot of interest from Wall Street?
I would say we are not actually focusing on fiat markets right now. We are focusing on crypto markets, and I'm not sure that we should sell the strategy itself rather than use it on our own.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
I think we will be able to use it on our own, and our company and our ecosystem will only benefit from this, I guess.
Right. So, so if people want to learn more, maybe participate, maybe become, what's the process? Obviously, you would buy. Is it so Cindicator.io or is it .com? Yeah, Cindicator.io, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes. And then you have to, and then basically it's pretty self-explanatory there, right? I mean, you have a certain number of tokens that you can stake if you want information, but then there's also a platform that allows you to participate in answering questions. What is that? How does that work? If you can explain that to everybody.
Yeah, so our website is cindicator.com. Okay. And it depends on the way like a potential user want to choose. So a user can download our mobile application or just use our website, like app.cindicator.com, I guess, to participate in our collective intelligence part. So user will be able to send his analysis, to send his or her indicators, forecasts, answering our questions, and to receive financial and non-financial rewards for this. So this is the one part. The second part is if a user want to use our indicators for their I don't know, analysis or trading or something like this, user can install our. We have Telegram bot, and we also will have in future. We'll most likely have a dedicated page on our website where a user will be able to see all the products, all the indicators he can receive. And yes, as you already said, user will need to buy a certain amount of tokens in order to get the access.
Right.
So yeah, as I would say that the best way to start is just to visit our website and start with it.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a very neat platform. Nodari, thank you very much for being on Consensus Network today, and I would love to have you back sometime again.
Thank you back for having me. I enjoyed this interview very much. Thank you.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show, everyone, and hopefully you enjoyed that. I think it is a very interesting project, Cindicator. We'll see how it goes, right? I mean, there's a lot of these projects right now. There's a lot of people who are high on Cindicator. I think they've made some really good business moves in terms of making sure that they hedge themselves into fiat to make sure they didn't run out of money, etc. The price certainly is not doing great right now, but then again, listen, the price of Bitcoin right now is about $3,800. I will say this. I think that what we're seeing right now is something that I have been talking about for some time, is that even despite a lot of activity in infrastructure building and big announcements or big, whatever they may be, prices aren't flying up, right? And that's what I talked about before, where a lot of people were talking about, well, yeah, as soon as, backed is the real deal, prices are going to go crazy. As soon as Fidelity is custody business is live, the prices are going to shoot up. Well, in fact, what we're seeing this week, actually Fidelity's Bitcoin custody business did go live. They don't have they don't have that many customers. They're primarily very large early adoption type institutional investors. But that said, the price has not had a significant swing. I just don't think that's the way this is going to happen. I think this is, technically right now, the technical analysts still are looking at this thinking that there's a lot of resistance moving up and that there's still a possibility of a significant correction down, potentially even below 2,000. I don't know what's real, but what I will tell you is that the predictions that just because you're going to have backed and potentially even a the CBOE's ETF pass this year, these things are all I think positives, and in the long run, meaning maybe in a year, maybe within the year, who knows, sometimes or two or whatever, but they are very positive for the industry in general. But when the rumor is out there, that's when usually prices go up. When it becomes fact, it usually doesn't affect the price anymore. So the reality is that right now, all these rumors are already out there and they're not affecting the price very much. And of course, I'm long-term bullish. There's no question about it. But that's where we're at today. Not much else in the news. I shouldn't say that. There's plenty of the news. A lot of slow-moving things. Facebook announced that they're going to get into the cryptocurrency space with WhatsApp and make it easy to transfer money from one place to another using their app. Of course, that gives them an opportunity to monetize on those transactions as well. And and then some people hear that and they're like, "Oh, yeah, Bitcoin is toast because now Facebook is going to get involved." And I think that's actually nonsense. Facebook doesn't have a very good record right now with privacy, and one of the beauties of Bitcoin and blockchain and all that is nobody's spying on you all the time when you're using it. Anyway, that is it for me this week on Consensus Network. Make sure to check out the website at consensusnetwork.io. Lots of information there, some tutorials, etc. And we'll keep chugging along with these shows and doing them periodically until we hit a bull market, and then I'm sure we'll start doing them weekly again. Like I said, in the meantime, that's it for me this week on Consensus Network. This is Buck Joffrey signing off.